NBA draft has concluded, but the Sixers are far from finished when it comes to restructuring their roster for next season, trying to compete for a championship. We got a couple guys from last season making their return for next year, and we got some Ace Bailey news. And Ace Bailey did not get drafted by the Sixers, but we got to emphasize how big of a bullet the Sixers dodged by not drafting him. Welcome on into NZ for 3, where we talk Sixers nonstop. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button if you're new around here. But let's get right down to business, man. So today was the deadline for NBA teams to accept or decline their team options, and that's different than a player option, because with player options, that's the player who gets to decide whether they take that extra year in their contract. Whether it's a team option, the team decides that. So the 76ers had all this time until today to accept or decline those options, and a couple guys stayed, or one guy stayed and one guy left. The guy who did stay, Justin Edwards, the rookie standout from last season. Last season sucked. We don't really need to go into much detail why, but one of the biggest bright spots from last year had to be the production Justin Edwards was giving the team. He was averaging 10 points on 45% shooting. Shot around 4 threes per game at 36%. Not bad. Not bad at all. Justin Edwards was just a big burst of energy for a team that lacks, any athleticism, size, and youth whatsoever. Justin Edwards was just a complete breath of fresh air. How mature he was, starting out in the NBA. He already looked like a veteran by the way you saw him play, man. Just making the right plays, not making really any mistakes. No silly turnovers whatsoever. No silly shots. He knew his role. He knew what he had to do to impact the game, and that's what he did. And now he's getting a multi-year contract with the 76ers. Shams broke the news a couple hours ago. The Philadelphia 76ers intend to sign forward Justin Edwards to a new 3-year contract after declining his team option, sources tell ESPN. 76ers and Clutch Sports. Rich Paul, I did not know Justin Edwards was affiliated with Rich Paul. That just brought me back to the entire Ben Simmons fiasco. I think Tyrese Maxey is too, but they were able to negotiate a new deal, and now Justin Edwards has returned to the 76ers, and I'm really happy about this, man. I kind of expected this to happen. I think a lot of Sixers fans that were in the know knew, because Edwards was great, man. He was really good for the 76ers. Good shooter, good driver to the basket, just knew what he was doing, looked like a veteran player, man. And it was interesting because he was a top-ranked prospect in high school, just like all these guys like Ace Bailey, Dylan Harper, or whatever, Cooper Flagg. Like, they're all top-ranked prospects. Believe it or not, Justin Edwards used to be in that same camp, like that same, in their shoes when it came to being, at the top of the high school class. But, after a rough year at Kentucky and kind of slipping, his draft stock completely just falling out of his favor, just plummeting, he gets a chance with his hometown team in the 76ers, and he puts on a show. He was really good for them last year, and it didn't really pop much because the team was so terrible, but he was one of the bright spots aside from Jared McCain, and I'm super glad that the Sixers are bringing him back. I think he could help them a lot when it comes to their need for a wing player. Now, we don't know whether Kelly Oubre Jr. will decline his option or not and try and get a multi-year contract. If Kelly comes back too, that'd be great. I wouldn't, be upset with that either way. The deadline for the player options, that is the 29th, so Sunday, so we still got some time to find out. But when it comes to player options, we had Andre Drummond accept his player option as well. He will be picking up his $5 million option for next season. And everyone's clowning Andre Drummond for doing this, but it was a smart move for him because he really was not going to get another contract worth $5 million given his production from last season. I think Drummond, we kind of did overrate him a lot coming into this year or last year, because when he left, when he got traded in the Ben Simmons deal, we had no backup center whatsoever. We had Paul Reed as our backup center, and he did his best. I love B-ball Paul and all that, but he was just way too small to play the center position. He's more of a power forward, and we had literally nobody. We had Mo Bamba. We had Mo Bamba. Remember Mo Bamba? Yeah, just a complete traffic cone on the defensive end of the floor. But Andre Drummond, man, we picked him up, and we all thought that he was going to be the Drummond that we had at the beginning of like the 2022 season when he was giving you like 22 rebound games like left and right. But I guess, whether it was his toe injury or just him being flat out washed, he was not good at all last year. I think a lot of that just has to do with the fact that he was getting too many minutes, because we expected him to be a backup. Only playing 10 to 15 minutes per game backing up Joel Embiid. We did not want him to be a starting center whatsoever. Even though we kind of thought, he could do it in spurts, it kind of went a little overboard, and Nick Nurse was playing Gershon Yabusele at center because Drummond was, not being that productive, and he did have some toe problems as well. So I'm not upset about this move by Andre Drummond because it was his decision, all of that. It makes sense from his perspective, but the Sixers, if they bring him back next year, I won't be upset with that because I still think he can be a serviceable backup big as long as Joel Embiid is healthy, because that's really what matters, man. Joel Embiid has to be healthy for any of this to work and for anyone to have a conversation about the Sixers being championship contenders. You need to have Embiid healthy. And, Andre Drummond, he's still one of the better backup centers in the NBA, so it's not a big deal. I'm fine if they package him as like a salary dump. I would probably prefer if they do that, just, completely leave my emotions out of it, because I do like Drummond. I do like his attitude, and, I think he was getting a little bit of an unfair, reputation from last year, given that he was playing way outside of his role, and that's kind of what happens with role players, man. We love them for what they do and, in their niche roles of whether it's just shooting or defense, but once, they get more spotlight, once that star player, exits, he gets injured or whatever, they have to do so much more than what they were expected to, and that's when their weaknesses show, and that's why they show why they're role players. But yeah, I mean, I like Andre Drummond a lot. I hope he could have a productive season with the Sixers or with another team. And that reminds me of another team option. So Andre Drummond, he picked up his player option. So Kelly Oubre, we're still waiting on Oubre for what he's going to do. Is he going to take the risk and try and get a multi-year contract, or take that player option again and make it another prove-it year? We got Jared Butler, who was traded at the deadline from the Washington Wizards to the 76ers, and we actually traded a first-round pick for Jared Butler, a 2026 first-round pick. It was like a least favorable one between like the Rockets or the OKC Thunder or something, so it wasn't that valuable, and we got like 4 second-round picks in return. And it kind of made sense given that it wasn't that Jared Butler was a bad player per se. I think he averaged like 5 assists when he was playing for the Sixers, but we got too many guards. We got too many guards at this point. I mean, I think the guard issue is being a little bit overblown because you could always just trade one of them if it's that big of a problem. And I think, VJ and Grimes, they're not undersized, so maybe they can play the three from, time to time. I still think the Sixers do need to address size. They need to get some more wings, on that roster. But, Daryl Morey in the front office, I'm sure they have a plan. I don't think this is the final product by any means. So, yeah, I mean, Jared Butler is not going to be returning next year. The 76ers declined his team option, and they're probably not going to re-sign him. I hope he does. He was a nice little player, smart, didn't really turn the ball over much, did what he needed to do as a backup point guard on a team that just did not have any hope whatsoever. I just want to stop talking about last year. So, yeah, Justin Edwards is coming back, Drummond's coming back, and Jared Butler, I already forgot about him. Jared Butler will not be returning next season. And now that brings us to Ace Bailey. And, Ace Bailey, he got drafted by the Utah Jazz. He didn't seem to like that very much. A lot of Sixers fans were saying, hey, he's too talented for them to not pick him. He can't get punked by, his agent Omar Cooper, who is a complete scammer, by the way. He's too talented, man. We got too many guards. We need to pick that wing. We need a wing for the future. And I was saying, initially I was like, yeah, let's just draft him. He's too talented. But the more and more we saw what, he was saying in interviews and his agent's antics and stuff, he's not talented enough to warrant the headache. Let's just be honest. I did not almost gouge my eyes out watching Alex Reese and Marcus Bagley to be watching Ben Simmons 2.0 just pouting on the bench. You know what I mean? And it seems that the Utah Jazz are having a difficult time trying to motivate Ace Bailey this far. So the Jazz were very excited to welcome him to Utah over the weekend, and that hasn't happened yet. So he did not go there. So a lot of the rookies had their, opening press conferences for their teams. VJ Edgecombe did today, as well as John High Broom or something, and our second-round pick. Their other first-round pick, Walter Clayton, flew to Utah and is getting ready to go. Ace Bailey did not, and there's been minimal contact with him and the team. There's not a crisis yet. What the Jazz are saying is he's not expected in Utah until the weekend, and really what he needs to do is be there by Monday when their training camp for summer league begins, and it's too big of a blur, but man. Yeah, Ace Bailey is acting like a complete scrub right now. I think it's both his agency and just him being completely too arrogant. I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that he just thought he was going to go to a team where he would instantly be the number one guy and everyone would, bow down and do everything he says and just be the franchise player immediately. It's not really how that works in the NBA, because a lot of these, you start out in high school, you get really popular in high school, everyone wants your autograph and stuff like that, wants to take pictures with you. And then you get to college, you're the guy on campus, super popular, and your stock rises and rises. But once you get to the NBA, it flatlines, you know what I mean? It's like a completely new ordeal. So I think Ace Bailey, his expectations are a little bit, too high for how how he thinks he should be treated in the NBA. You got to start out just at the bottom and work your way up there. There's kind of a misconception that highly projected picks, like they immediately start out averaging 20 points per game and getting like 15 to 20 shots a night. That's just not how it works, man. You got to start from the ground up, like start out as a role player, and I don't really understand what the problem is with doing that. Now, Ace Bailey's agency, it seems like they just want to get him a bag as soon as possible. And that's sort of why they wanted to draft him to a team where he would be getting those shots and be good at, putting up those really good numbers if Ace Bailey even pans out in the first place. Because let's be honest here, he has as high of a chance of becoming the next Cam Reddish as he does the next Jason Tatum. You know what I mean, man? I think there are just so many red flags. There are more red flags with Ace Bailey than Ben Simmons has summer jump shot, workout videos. It is a really rough time with the, just having a headache like that. Us Sixers fans know what it's like. But Danny Ainge is a complete psychopath, and he has some time to kill, and he's going to hold out for Ace Bailey to be either, suit up and play for the Jazz or be traded to another team. I just saw another NBA Central post where he was like the top odds for his next team was the LA Lakers at plus 235, and that's just ridiculous. I don't think we've really ever seen a situation like this. But yeah, I'm so happy we did not draft Ace Bailey, bro. Originally I was high on him because, he was big, he was talented, a great shot maker, and seemed like, he just wanted to hoop. But the more you listened into his interviews and what his agency was doing and all that, refusing to work out, all of that, and a lot of his comments saying like, "Oh, I can only control what I can control." Well, you can't control who represents you. You can't control who you work out for. If you wanted to work out for a team and your agency said you shouldn't, you could have done that anyway. It's just not a good look whatsoever. And I'm not gonna be hate watching his career or anything. I guess, I mean, I just don't really. We have the Sixers to worry about. You know what I mean. Whenever he comes to Philly, he's gonna get booed. He's going to get booed so hard. It's going to be another, Ben Simmons, James Harden, Tobias Harris. All of them get booed all the time when they come back to Philly. And it seems like that's what's going to happen with Ace Bailey because, yeah, from the jump, it looked like he was the surefire number 3 pick, given his talent, given his production at Rutgers, and what he could have become. But as you are starting to see with a lot of these guys getting drafted, it seems that character matters a lot as well. VJ Edgecombe, he was not that good in his workout with the Sixers, but they saw his work ethic. They thought he, had a good head on his shoulders, and they decided to pick him anyway to help contribute to that culture. I hope that whoever the Sixers, sign and trade for this season, they get guys, maybe some more established veterans. I know, they've already gotten, younger and more athletic, to be honest, by drafting both Broom and VJ. So if they can get some more established veterans who aren't completely washed but could also, lead them, help them develop, and contribute to a winning culture, I'm all for that. And I'm interested to see what the Sixers do next, during this offseason, man. But I'm running out of things to say. I'll let you off there. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button if you're new around here. We are still going to be covering the Sixers. Still plenty of things to talk about, and I'll catch you all in the next one.